I'm joined live from New Jersey by Hiba Birat, who's a licensed attorney in the state of New York and Executive Director of Law for Palestine organization, and also by Omar al-Rabi, who's an activist, and he's in Gaza, in Palestine. Thank you both for joining me here today on The Edge. Omar, I want to come to you first, as you're in Gaza. Can you please tell us, I've spoken to several people in the last few days in Gaza, and I've heard some very disturbing stories. Can you please tell us, what are you experiencing right now?
I mean, I'm trying to put it in words, but at the same time, it's very hard to express. I would go as terror, fear, stress. I mean, right now I'm talking to you while very stressed on the fact that bombings could happen at night, because that's when they usually go very heavy, and it is something that no one should ever, of course, experience. And it goes under the genocide, it goes under terror, it goes under ethnic cleansing, and as many horrible meanings to it as possible, and it can never be justified. But yeah, I can just put it into fear, basically.
And the rockets have been landing in neighborhoods close to where you live?
Yes, absolutely. The airstrikes from the Israeli occupation forces have been landing a place that's less than 100 meters away from me, a street away from me. A lot of places are getting evicted around us, which always spreads terror inside you. And a lot of friends of mine have been moving from one house to another relative's house and a friend's house. It is very, very hard for each and every civilian here in Gaza. And that is a very big problem that should be dealt with, not just condemned by some kind of press conference. That's not how things go here. Those are lives, and I don't think anyone should ever take that lightly.
Okay, we'll come back to that just in a moment. Herbert, thank you for joining us. There's the first-hand experience of the trauma that's being experienced in Gaza right now. Do you think that the world is seeing the full picture, getting a balanced view of what is happening?
Thank you so much for having me today. So what's going on in Gaza has been really confusing for so many people, especially people in the West, due to lack of media coverage of the root causes of what's going on. You know, people think that this all started by Hamas and other Palestinian armed groups firing rockets on Israel. Now, that's not totally accurate. You know, Palestinians have been suffering from Israeli racist policies for so many decades right now, implementing a system of apartheid, like what Human Rights Watch just described just recently. The continuation of settlement expansion, the blockade of Gaza. Gaza has been isolated from the rest of the occupied Palestinian territories, as you know, for so many years now. The Judaizing of Jerusalem, the annexation wall, the restriction of freedom of movement, restriction of freedom of worship, storming mosques, especially Al-Aqsa Mosque in mid of Ramadan, the holiest time for Muslims, the ethnic cleansing, the forced evictions, the forced displacement, actually. This is the right legal terminology for the policy of entire families, not only from Sheikh Jarrah, but also from other bites in occupied Palestine, such as the villages in the Northern Valley. All these policies, you know, the storming of the homes, the arresting of thousands of Palestinian citizens, extrajudicial killings, targeted killings, racial discrimination against Arab minorities in Israel, and the settler terror and attacks against Palestinian civilians. All these causes, all these policies have led to what we are witnessing right now. You know, the damage is very widespread. We don't have an accurate vision of what's going on right now. We can't measure it. It's the conditions are catastrophic, as like what he said. You know, Israel has been targeting residential towers, public buildings. The infrastructure of Gaza has been destroyed: water, electricity, schools, cultural centers. What we are witnessing right now actually amounts to war crimes under international law and international humanitarian law.
And this is terrible. But Omar, the situation that you're living in. Sorry, a situation is such a banal words. It's not strong enough. The trauma you're living in isn't new. We know Gaza has been blockaded for the last 14 years by Israel. So already the situation was under tremendous stress. Well, the bombings of the last 10 days, how has that changed the city and changed daily life as you know it?
Well, to begin with, we're talking about more than 180 civilians killed. We're talking about almost 500,000 plus, even thousands are injured currently. We're talking about houses. We're talking about more than 17,000 people homeless right now, currently, as we speak, and counting. Residential towers, Al-Jala Tower that housed media agencies. I used to live there. I lived there for 9 years. I held memories there with my friends, and it was gone in the blink of an eye. Mm-hmm. Streets that we used to cross and walk and drive by cars are now full of holes, are now restructured. They're erasing memories, they're erasing places of work, they're erasing homes, they're erasing shops. The place that we call the downtown of Gaza, al-Rabi, this place right now is destructive. This is it for al-Rabi. A lot of people lost jobs and homes, and this is the place that we used to make you feel like Gaza is alive. And now, I don't think we'll be able to recover from going to al-Rabi that easily. And it just breaks every Gazan's heart. And on top of it, you fear for your life at every second and every minute of every day. So tell me, how are we okay?
Yeah, well, we know that you're absolutely not. But Hiba, this is not just a physical threat to life. It's also a psychological torture that's going on. But Israel is justifying all of this by saying that they're acting under self-defense. As we know, we discussed earlier in this episode how the expulsions from Jarrah started off the protests in East Jerusalem, which and then the attacking of worshippers by the police at Al-Aqsa, and Hamas calling for those acts to stop, for the expulsions to stop, and for the attacks on worshippers to stop. And that's how this particular phase started. But Israel's now claiming self-defense. Do they have any right to do that under international law?
So there's something about self-defense. Now, claim of self-defense is totally unacceptable to legitimize a war that uses prohibited and heavy weapons against protected persons and protected properties. Now, Article 51 of the United Nations Charter that allows states to defend themselves when exposed to the armed aggression or armed attacks. This article has nothing to do with what Israel is now doing. You know, this article doesn't permit the targeting of civilians and the targeting of properties, protected properties under international humanitarian law. You know, Israel is using an excessive force, the use of excessive force that violates the principle of proportionality. Does this amounts to war crimes? What's going on amounts to war crimes under Article 8 of the Rome Statute that established the International Criminal Court, and under Article 147 of the Fourth Geneva Convention on the protection of civilian persons and civilian people in times of armed conflict. So this is totally unacceptable. International law does not acknowledge the right of self and of collective punishment. Actually, this is prohibited under Article 33 of the Fourth Geneva Convention as well. We're talking about 2 million people trapped in Gaza. 2 million people are under fire at the moment. They have no food, no medical, no humanitarian aid. So I'm not sure how this, is justified under self-defense.
And even just looking at what is happening, looking at the imbalance of the two sides is just self-defense is a seriously unusable word. It's inconceivable. Omar, you're a young person, and you've grown up through this in a blockade that's been going in Gaza for 14 years. You have younger friends, maybe they have younger brothers and sisters, I don't know. But how are children coping through all of this? It must be a nightmare for them every moment.
So to begin with it's hard for each and every civilian here, no matter the age, no matter the competency, but especially, of course, for children, because they're going up to shape a reality that is full of terror, that is full of fear, that is full of bombs, full of running for your lives, different scenarios, full of being at your home. The very next minute you get a call and you have to get out. And sometimes, unfortunately, you do not even get a call. And that is even a bigger problem. We here try, whenever we have kids around, we try. I have a lot of friends, like I'm the youngest one here in the family, 24 years old. I turned 24 during this aggression that's going on here. So what we do with young children, usually what my friends do, we try to make them try to forget. We try to distract them with different things, toys, movies, any kind of thing that would make them feel better. But at the same time, you know that you cannot escape such a situation. I give you a movie to watch, and at the same time, you hear a loud bomb, and your house is shaking. You hear the rubble going everywhere in the sky. So you would know that sometimes you can never escape from this reality. And they grow up to be shaped around this reality. So that's a very big issue, because they start to see a close of a door. If your door gets closed let's say, violently, you would immediately reconnect that to some kind of event you've been through, as if a bombing or anything else. So everyone in Gaza, pretty much everyone, suffers from PTSD from what's going on. And we've done that, and we've experienced that in so many times and escalations, and 3 wars, and they shouldn't even be called wars because they're not on the same competent level of military force. So we try our best, yet it's still unescapable. No one can escape this.
And I was hearing yesterday a comment that on the one hand you want to leave your windows open so that if a blast goes off, the glass doesn't get thrown into the room. But on the other hand, you need to close the windows because the air is so polluted by the debris from explosions that you're actually breathing this terror as well. Is that right?
Yes, absolutely. We leave each and every window slightly open, and we try our best, but at the same time, it brings you a lot of polluted, let's say, aftermath of a rubble, of a place getting destructed or bombed, and at the same time, a lot of places here in Gaza witnessed a use of a very bad smell that comes out of gas. We're still not even sure what it is. It's not even confirmed yet, but a lot of people have witnessed that. So at the same time, you cannot escape the loud noise. You cannot escape the shattering of glass, yet you have to do it for the sake of staying alive and not having any kind of glass threatening your life if you're asleep, you're sitting down. So yeah, it's terror from each and every angle of your home, of course.
Well, Hiba, what is required, do you think, from the international community? We know over the weekend there have been meetings. The United States has delayed any activity from the United Nations as much as they can, and yet again they've prevented the Security Council from making a statement. What's required from the United Nations, the International Criminal Court, and other bodies, including the Islamic Cooperation Council?
Okay, so the UN has actually to move immediately, has to take an immediate action. The UN Charter clearly prohibits the use of force, and not only the use of the force, but also the threat of the use of force under Article 2, the second article of the Charter. So what is required right now is an immediate action to stop the Israeli military operation on the Strip. But also, the UN is also required required to work seriously to end the prolonged Israeli occupation that led to this situation, allow Palestinian people to establish their independent state with Jerusalem as its capital. The high contracting parties to the Fourth Geneva Convention, including the United States, have to move immediately. Like, immediate action is required. What is going on is a flagrant violation of the Fourth Geneva Conventions, and does constitute a war crime that triggers the implementation of the first common article of the Fourth Geneva Conventions, under which high contracting parties, including the United States, have an obligation not only to respect the agreement, but also to ensure that the agreement is respected in all cases. Also, under Article 146 of the Fourth Geneva Conventions, the international community, the high contracting parties particularly, have an obligation to prosecute those accused of committing violations to the Fourth Geneva Conventions. Now, this is for the high contracting parties. For the ICC, it's the time now to initiate the investigation into the situation in Palestine. They need to take immediate actions to establish special information systems, special systems of awareness for victims in Gaza Strip. You know, the international community has also an obligation to open humanitarian corridors to, facilitate the relief work and to support the health sector in Gaza Strip. They have to exert pressure on Israel to abide by the principles of international law and international humanitarian law. We need to move to create neutralized zones for those who are affected by the war, the wounded and the sick, whether combatant or non-combatant, for civilians. So this is the time for the international community to work to protect civilians and save what can be saved after this moment.
Well, let's hope that not just condemnations, but actual action, it occurs very, very soon. Hiba Birat and Omar al-Rabi, thank you so much for joining me on The Edge. And Omar, I look forward, I hope, to wishing you a happy 25th birthday next year. Thank you for joining us here today on The Edge. Thank you.